All right, and we back on the forecast. So, after Stephon Clark, who was shot 20 times by Sacramento police, some of his messages or Twitter posts came out of him disrespecting black women, of him disrespecting black people, and apparently was feeding into that all lives matter rhetoric. And a lot of people came out, and I wouldn't say they were justifying it, but I do think they were excusing his murder because of the mentality he had. Now, let me say this. The rhetoric he was talking should not be tolerated, and those people should be held accountable. And this is another reason why we need institutions, so we can hold our own people accountable. We have got to stop feeding into the narrative the dominant society gives us about ourselves. And this brother was lost and filled with self-hate. But that self-hate doesn't come out of nowhere. This brother suffered from severe Stockholm Syndrome. You can't be a prisoner of war for hundreds of years and did not have some effect on your mentality. That coonish kind of mentality goes all the way back to the 1600s. Back then, they said if you were a Christian or if you've adapted to the ways of the Englishmen, you could be free. And when you've been hearing the same rhetoric about how black is wrong and white is right for hundreds of years, sooner or later, not only are they going to believe it, some of our people are going to start believing it. Now, even though these people need to be held accountable, I don't think it should be punishable by death. And we should never let the dominant society interfere in business that should be handled in-house. They would never allow a black person to get away with murdering somebody they consider a coon or a turncoat to them. If somebody like Jane Elliott was shot down by a black person, that person would get 25 to life, if not murdered. They may use it as an opportunity to show other people this is what happened when you defend black people. Just like it needs to be an opportunity for us to show our people that no matter how much white ass you kiss, it does not matter. At the end of the day, they don't care about your feelings. Now, they would never let you get away with that because they understand that it's a slippery slope. They already understand how dangerous that is. They understand that a crime to one of them is a crime to all of them, even if they have different beliefs. The police didn't know what Stephon Clark's beliefs were when they shot him 20 times. To them, they saw a melanated person. See, it's easier for us to be hard on each other because we can't do anything to them. So we just argue and blame each other because we can't hold them accountable. The police and the dominant society don't see a difference between Alton Sterling and Stephon Clark. But we do. Now we're going to pick and choose who we fight for and who we don't.
Back on.
Damn, what you talking about?
Don't move, bro. Stop.
What I did? I'm saying what I did, son.
Don't move on. Shoot your Put your hands on the car. Hands on the car. I'm going to shoot you in your head. You understand me? Don't you move. I'm going to shoot you in your head. You hear me? Don't you move.
All right, hold up, man. You hurt my arm. Stop. I'm saying what happened, man. Hold on, my hands is on the car.
Taser.
You on the ground! Get on the ground!
Pop him again, Howie.
Hey, bro, you Hey, man.
Just copy shots fired, North Boston. 2100 North Boston.
Come here. Excuse me, ma'am. Do me a favor, put your hands on that car right quick.
What?
Stop.
About to look,
Stop.
What you talking about?
Put your hands on the car right quick, bro.
Don't move, bro. Stop. What? I'm saying so shoot your
Bro, put your hands on the car.
hands on the car.
Put your hands on the car.
Put your hands on the car, but shoot you in the
at? Pretty good. Get on the ground! 1619, shots fired, shots fired.
You copy shots fired, no posted. 21, no posted.
1619, both officers okay, suspect down. I need EMS code 3. Hey! Hold on, y'all stop! Everybody stop!
Posted Fairfield.
Alton Sterling was gunned down on multiple cameras with multiple witnesses, and they justify his murder. So what was the difference between him and Stephon Clark? Because the police didn't see any difference. The grand jury doesn't see any different. Judges don't see any difference. And the dominant society justified both of these murders. But we as a community stand up for one of the victims of murder and excuse one of the victims. Whether we like it or not, or whether they like it or not, at the end of the day, to them, we're all still niggas. But for them, they have found power and unifying in their whiteness. They will put whiteness above anything, their religion, their beliefs, their tribalism, their children, their country before everything. It doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican. At the end of the day, they still use their whiteness to unify. A member of the DNC, John Parker, was just forced to resign. In a meeting, he referred to black people as colored people instead of people of color. By the way, stay away from this people of color thing. They're trying to force it down our throats. But he said colored people, referring to specifically black people, instead of people of color, including a whole bunch of other groups, some of which participate with the dominant society and benefiting from our oppression. But even his wife, Lisa King, was willing to throw her husband under the bus for the greater good of her people and distance herself from her husband in the best interest of the Democratic Party and keeping the black vote, which as long as we stay with the Democratic Party, the black vote is meaningless anyway. Until we have our own party, our own candidates to run for office, our vote does not matter because we don't have anybody to represent our own interests. Because at the end of the day, their allegiance is to whiteness over everything else. Their marriages, their children, their religion, over everything else. And until we have that same mentality and respond with the same urgency, just look around. The threat of them losing power, and they are, is happening right before their eyes. But the threat of losing their power is causing them to go insane. And they're committing mass terrorism every week. I mean, that white woman just shot up YouTube. And as much as they try not to talk about it, believe identity politics has something to do with it. Right now, they feel like, oh, well, the white voice is being silenced. To them, not having the ability to do anything they want at any time is considered silencing them because they're willing to respond with urgency to keep their place.
Police in San Bruno, California said today it was a dispute with YouTube that drove a 38-year-old woman to shoot people apparently at random at the company's headquarters yesterday. John Blackstone tonight on more on what we've learned.
Online, the shooter, Nasim Agdam, had already expressed her anger at YouTube.
I'm being discriminated and filtered on YouTube, and I'm not the only one.
She had been a prolific contributor to the video sharing site, posting videos on fitness, veganism, and animal rights. Police say Agdam had a 9mm semi-automatic handgun that was registered in her name. She visited a shooting range yesterday morning before going to YouTube. Police said the shooter wounded 3 people in YouTube's open courtyard and then killed herself. Investigators covered her body with a yellow tar.
Is there any suggestion of terrorism involved in this at all?
Well, we know that she was upset with YouTube, and we've determined that right now that's the motivation that we've identified.
Last week, Ogden's family reported her missing from her home in San Diego. Then yesterday morning, hours before the shooting, police in Mountain View found her sleeping in her car about 25 miles south of YouTube. They alerted her family, and Ogden's father says he warned officers she had a grudge against YouTube. But in a statement, the police say at no point did her father or brother mention anything about potential acts of violence.
We received information that she may be in this area because she had a dispute with YouTube, but there was no information that the officer received that to suggest in any way that that dispute would act out in violence.
Investigators today visited family homes in Southern California. ATF agents spent more than 14 hours inside her father's house searching for evidence. According to relatives, Ogden came from Iran as a refugee more than 2 decades ago. YouTube has not responded to our request for information about Ogden's history with the company or whether any of her videos were blocked. Today, Ogden's family released a statement in which they said they wanted to express their sorrow and regret for what has happened to innocent victims.
One thing we have to learn from them is give me liberty or give me death. It's a reason why they protect the Second Amendment so hard, while at the same time making sure those Second Amendment rights don't apply to us. But until we can respond with more urgency than they have to keep their position and put aside our tribal differences, put aside the gender wars, put aside our beliefs to get to the ultimate goal, then we will never get there. We will always be under their jurisdiction, their laws, and subject to their punishments.
Well, nearly 2 years after his death, police in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, released body camera footage of the encounter with police that left Alton Sterling dead. And while the officers are cleared of criminal wrongdoing, one has been fired and the other suspended. We want to warn you, the video you may be seeing is disturbing. Here's Mark Strassman.
The body camera video begins as 2 officers approach a convenience store after receiving a 911 call about a man selling CDs and threatening someone with a gun. It shows one of the officers holding a gun to the head of Alton Sterling.
Put your hands on the car.
Sterling repeatedly asks what he's done wrong.
All right, hold up, man. You hurt my arm. I'm saying what happened, man. Hold up.
The struggle goes on. The officer repeatedly tries to use his taser.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Pop him again, Howie.
Moments later, one cop screams, "He's got a gun." Suddenly, 3 gunshots followed by 3 more. Police say that Sterling had reached for the .38 caliber revolver found in his pocket. They can be seen here taking the gun to a car.
I never feel like I will get justice, to be honest with you.
Earlier this week, we spoke to Quintella McMillan, the mother of Sterling's oldest son.
What do you think that video is going to show, the security camera video?
I'm hoping that that video shows us more than what we just seen from the personal cell phones. I'm hoping that it can actually show that the right hand, yet they still saying was not visible. So if it's not visible, then how can you say he's reaching for something?
But federal and state prosecutors decided against filing criminal charges in the deadly shooting.
The investigation by the Attorney General was crap. A regurgitation of what the DOJ did.
Newly released toxicology reports showed Sterling tested positive for cocaine and methamphetamine.
Is there anything that would make you more at peace with this?
I'd be more at peace if they're fired.
Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul announced late Friday the termination of Officer Blaine Salamone, who fired all 6 shots. Officer Howie Lake was suspended for 3 days. The police chief's other message to the community?
Please stop resisting.
People here now have their chance to study the fatal confrontation and the most complete and raw view of Alton Sterling's last minute of life.
So there's a nurse at Kaiser Permanente who was recently fired for speaking out about the Stephon Clark case. Mm-hmm. She posted to social media that she thinks instead of protesting for Stephon Clark, we should protest every time a black person shoots somebody. These were really inflammatory comments. Social media went wild. Kaiser Permanente saw them and said, you gotta go. So she was fired on March 30th. A GoFundMe page was put up in her name very soon after that, asking for a goal of $25,000. You can see it right there. There she is.
Right.
And guys, today she's only about $100 and something shy of her $25,000 goal.
What?
Oh,
I'm not even joking.
She's $5 over right now.
Oh, she just got. Oh, look at that.
And it's going quick.
This
morning,
happened in
she
the
was at
last
20.
10 minutes. That is
So-
incredible to me.
Does this surprise anyone? Because it doesn't surprise me.
Well,
That she was fired, or
No,
that,
no, no.
that
That
people are funding? Yeah.
people are funding.
Yeah.
People, like I said, people have their opinion and they're going to take the side. If you're not for the BLM, Black Lives Matter movement, right, and people pushing forward on that agenda, if that's what you want to call it, then you're going to want to fully support the other side to prove a point. So raising $25,000, sure, I'll throw my money at that this time, more so than I will for anything else, because I'm just furious that people are out there blocking the streets. I'm furious that people are calling our, police force or law enforcement, bad names or whatnot. So this does not surprise me.
Okay, so that number, $25,000 divided by 592 people in 4 days is about $42 and some change for each person. But I saw on there $1,000 donation, 2 $500 donations. This isn't money that's easy to come by, especially in a middle-class state working town that we live in.
Right.
Yeah. She's from Folsom. She was working at the Roseville Kaiser Permanente.
Right.
I'm interested in how people are so passionate to give so much of their money.
And I think people are going to jump in and say, this is a violation of First Amendment rights. However, you are allowed to say whatever you want in this country, but it doesn't mean someone has to keep you employed.
That's true.
That applied to 20 colleges and got into every single one. Michael Brown is his name. You're talking Yale, Harvard, Princeton, literally all of them. But this has sort of brought on this, and he got full rides to all of them. Full rides. So he has this pick, right? The video went viral, all this stuff. So it has sparked the discussion, though, of how many schools you should apply to. And do you think it's a little ridiculous that this kid applied to 20, taking away a spot and basically waitlisting another kid?
Yeah, well, most people won't agree with me, but I actually think it's ridiculous to apply to 20 schools. I do. I am urging my children not to. Yeah. He could have applied to 5. He would have gotten in all 5. It would have been equally as impressive. 10 would have been impressive. And you can Google as many articles as you want. Admissions officers will say on average you should apply to 4 to 8 schools, right?
So do you think this is a little obnoxious?
I think it's a little obnoxious because you can only go to 1. Right. You can only take 1 full ride, and you are taking a spot from someone else who worked really hard.
But Holly, why not? The kid could get into.
But if you don't take it, the full ride goes back into the pot, right?
Oh yeah.
The best thing about this story, which I stand on, is that 19 kids come off the wait list. Right. 19 other kids are going to get it. But 19 kids also had really sad days, and their parents talked them off the ledge when they didn't get it.
What's weird is that this is the conversation I'm always having now with my kids who are looking to go to school after high school, college, and I'm like 5 schools. Yeah, I think 5 schools. But there is the math. I found this article on Prep Scholar, and they say if the more selective you want to be, or the more, selective colleges, that number goes up to 15.
It can go up to 15, but they really say, if you look at it this way, around 8, you should have like 3 target schools. Yeah. Those schools you're probably going to get in. You may not, but you're probably going to get in. They're definitely in your range. Have 2 reach schools. Those are ones that maybe you don't. Right. You may not, but who knows? You may. And then you need 2 safety schools. Right?
That would be, but I think this kid obviously knew he was super smart.
So is he going to put that, I know, but is he going to put that on his application? This takes nothing away from him. Clearly, he is amazing. You know what I mean? Clearly, this child is amazing. But on every job interview he does, I got it.
By the way, I'm that kid.
That's what I would be saying, yeah. I don't know if you saw the story about me, but...
we would have done the story if he got in 5.
Right.
In 5 full rides. We would have done the same story.
I think it's awesome. I am encouraging my own kids not to whatever, but, maybe if he was looking for the most money or whatever, then I could understand. But, it's impressive.
20 schools playing against each other. There is an application fee for everyone,
that's why I'm saying 5, but that's, clearly not my situation. But.
Another teacher using the classroom as a place to share their political beliefs, this time slamming President Trump's Make America Great Again motto. Take a listen to this.
So when my president says, let's make America great again, when was he talking about it? He must be talking about when it was great for Europeans. Because when it comes to minorities, America has never been great for minorities.
Wow, that is just a slice of a 15-minute rant from that teacher. And this all taking place at the same Georgia middle school where another teacher assigned students to write anti-gun letters to Congress, as we reported on this show yesterday. So here with more is the student who recorded that audio, 6th grader and former Hampton Middle School student, Josie. How do you pronounce it? It's Ordiwela?
It's Ordiwela.
Ordiwela.
It's Cuban.
Well, it's a beautiful name, and thank you so much for being with us. You are a brave young woman. You were the one that recorded this rant. It was your teacher. Why did you do that?
Well, we were about to watch a movie for the first day of Black History Month, and then as soon as the movie had started, the teacher paused it, and she said that earlier that day she had read a poem called "America for You is Not America for Me," and then she said that this kind of reminded her of Donald Trump's slogan. And then she turns at the class and goes, "Hey, do any of you know what Donald Trump's slogans is?" And then everyone said, "Make America Great Again." And then a few seconds later, she started saying that maybe when he said that, he was trying to bring back segregation. So like right after that, I instantly knew that my mom is going to love this, and I needed to record it, so that's what I did.
Wow, so you recorded that. So clearly the rant had been going on well before you actually recorded it. You went home, gave it to your mom. What was her reaction?
She was in total shock, and then she just like looked at me, and then she looked at the phone, and then she asked me to turn it up some, so I got on my editing apps and I turned it up, and then she said, "Josie," and then I'm like, "Keep listening." So then she kept listening, and then she said, "How's it getting worse?" And then it just kept getting worse and worse, and then she was like, "This is unbelievable."
Well, Josie, in part of that rant, she addresses you and all the students in that class. Let me play just a little bit of that.
What?
Somebody else look at yourself in the mirror. Look at your ancestry in the mirror before you start saying you're bad, and you're bad, and you're bad, so you can't come. Because you happen to kill a few people, but guess what? My people have killed millions. Not a few. Millions upon millions upon millions of people. Babies included.
Talking about killing babies, how did that part of her rant make you feel?
Well, it made me feel like that I had done something wrong, even though like I knew that I didn't. But she just like made me think that I did, because she was just the way she looked at me when she said it. She looked at me like this, "You're bad," and then it was just like really awkward. And then I just felt so bad after that.
Right, and you think about the role of a teacher and the impact that they have on your life and everyone in that class, and just how unfortunate that moment was. How did the other students around you feel about this? Did you talk to any of them about it?
I didn't really talk to any of them about it. They just like, everyone in the class is a child except for the two teachers that were in the classroom, but they were all like looking off into space. They were being confused, and like they were like, huh?
Yeah, not sure what was going on. So your school has put out a statement. They say that it is extremely unfortunate that we experienced a separate, unrelated incident involving a teacher using the classroom space for actions we do not condone. The matter was addressed immediately upon it being brought to our attention. This unfortunate incident affords us the opportunity to remind our educators of the importance of keeping any potential political bias out of lessons for students of any age. What jumps out to me, Josie, is the school would not have even known about this rant had it not been for you opening up your phone and recording this. Right? I mean, you're the reason why they're talking about it now.
Oh yeah, I'm special.
Do you have a message for the school, or you know, anything you want to say before we let you go?
No, not really, but I'm just kind of like disappointed in the fact that that teachers have like such a big impact on kids, and like as a child, I know that you have to believe what adults say because like they're the adult and they like know everything, right? So like I know that she was probably using that just so she can like just have more people, I guess, on her side. I don't know how to say that.
Get out her own anger. Well, we appreciate you being here. You are a brave young girl. I know that's not easy, so it's great to have you on this morning, Josie. Thank you so much.
So you have this 6th grader, and she's in social studies class, thinking she's going to learn about American history.
You'd think.
And all of a sudden, the teacher goes on this 15-minute rant about President Trump, so the student decides to record it.
Take a 6th grade student.
Listen to
Take
this.
a listen.
TV he's talking about, it was great. during segregation in 60s. Maybe he's talking about the 70s. When we had the Black Panther movement because people were still not being treated equally. Maybe he's talking about the 90s when we had police officers beating Rodney King in the street. Then we had the 2000s and we still having the same issues. So when my president says, let's make America great again, when was he talking about? He must be talking about when it was great for Europeans. America has never been great for minorities. And even now, it makes me go, when I'm trying to figure out when was it great.
So again, that was recorded on a sixth grader's phone who happened to turn it on when this teacher of the sixth grade class was giving this rant. Sounds like she doesn't want to be living in this country to begin with. Yeah. I mean, it's and to think that these are the people that are educating these young kids. I mean, I give it to that student who has this phone and wants. How many other times this goes on that we don't know about, where they don't put on.
It makes you mortified as a parent to say, I'm submitting my kids to public government schools where I want to believe that the teachers are there above board, you know, teaching civics. Now it's social studies. It used to be civics, but we've changed in that direction. This is also the same school where they were given an assignment apparently recently to write about why they should be for gun control. And one of the parents, we had him on the program yesterday, called out the fact that why are you giving an assignment to my kid to give a political perspective as opposed to having a fair and balanced
So we have
debate.
a statement from the school district. There's a J.D. Harden, communications coordinator from Henry County Schools in Georgia. Quote, "It is extremely unfortunate that we experienced a separate, unrelated incident involving a teacher using the classroom space for actions we do not condone. The matter was addressed immediately upon it being brought to our attention. This unfortunate incident affords us the opportunity to remind our educators of the importance of keeping any potential political bias out of lessons for students of any age." Yes, for sure, that's important. But what about the part at the end where it's not just the anti-Trump rant, but she said, America has never been great for minorities.
We have nothing to be proud of.
Tell that to minority entrepreneurs all around this country that are living the American dream.
And how many are trying to get over here to live in this great country, to have those opportunities, right? The irony of that. Well, we're going to have...
Yeah. Have there been horrible mistakes? Were minorities kept down for a long time? Absolutely. Of course. Address it. Talk about it. Talk to the students about it.
Yeah, but that's part of history.
It's part of history. But there are minorities now who are succeeding in this country big time.